while we're waiting for the other pieces to soak in the acid so that we can work with them, let's go ahead and make a prong head for the amethyst.
Since we're going to make a triangular piece of, or a triangular base, then we'll go ahead and start with a triangular file, and that'll give us the correct angle to bend to. So basically just filing a groove about halfway through the bar itself. And we can see here we're about a quarter way in. So once my groove is cut, I'll just go ahead and grab it with the pliers and bend it. And it looks like we need to cut just a bit more of a groove there. So we'll bring it back a little bit. And we'll just file it a little more. There we go. We've got pretty much a triangle started here. We may have to adjust it a little bit more when we get further on. But for now, this is good enough. And if you could look at the stone, it's not an exact triangle. It's more of a rounded kind of triangle. So really the bottom of the prong head needs to be more rounded, each of these little segments. So we just come in and trim them back a little bit and tweak them, round them up. And we just basically come in and bend it just a little bit. Get just a little bit more roundness out of it. Let's see, this one we're going to have to kind of play with a little bit. And maybe we can do it from down here. 2 pairs of pliers. And we'll get that to bend. There we go. So now we've got some roundness to it. We'll be able to get a much better shape out of it. So now put the stone on top and figure out how long each of these little pieces is going to be in order to fit the stone. So I would say right in that general area right there, and I like to just scratch a line. And that gives me that line. Now we go back to filing. That should do the trick. One more bend. And we're going to come up closer to what we want. And once again, we need to kind of round that a little bit. Let's come in with the other pair of pliers. Just a slight arch to it. Oh yeah, that's going to look good. So now we just basically measure what's left of our triangle. So I would say somewhere right in about there is going to give us the triangle. Well, maybe a little bit longer. Okay, back to filing. All right, just the last little bit here, and I think we'll be ready. So now basically we just go ahead and bend this last piece over where it wants to belong. And that looks like it's going to be pretty good. So now we just mark our junction point. Come back in with the wire cutters. I'm going to have to open this up just a little bit in order to get in there. That shouldn't be too hard. There we go. We've got our mark there, so now all we have to do is come in and cut it. A little bit of file work. Oops. And we've got these two edges squared off. Basically just bring it on in till it matches up the two edges. And in this case you have to kind of bring it just a little bit further and then come back. And these two edges will match it nicely. There we go. Pretty close. We got a little bit more adjusting to do there, and we're set to go.
See that there's 3 little chips of solder there, and they're very small chips of solder to fill each corner, and then also a little bit bigger piece to fill the contact point. Come in with the torch, a little bit of heat, bring it into where it belongs. Heat everything up until the little chips melt. There they go, almost ready to go. Boom, there goes one, there goes the other one, there goes the other one. Everybody's happy. There's the beginnings of the prong head sitting right next to with the stone sitting on top of it. You can see it's a little bit off, but by the time we get all done and everything's set, you won't see any problems. Here's a great little tool just to give us a little bit more arch, and literally you just squeeze it a bit and you get just a smidge more arch out. Take the flat file, file the tops of this, because once we go to the next step we won't ever be able to square this line up again, so it's best to do it beforehand. Get it nice and even. You can see we're just getting all the little lumps and low spots out. There we go, we're almost there. And I also like to go in and do the side too, because same thing, once we put the prongs in place, the side's not going to be able to get dealt with again without a big effort. Best to just square up the sides and make everything fairly even before we go to this next step. Trillian design stone is a little more difficult to set than the round or square stone, because you have to you have 3 corners to work with instead of 4, or instead of a round. And the way I found to work around that 3-corner issue, and also you're welding each one of these little segments in at a time, it's really difficult to keep everything straight. So I just basically rotate a wire around my pliers, leaving myself a lot of room, and that might be a little bit too much room. So I've marked my pliers so that I know where I'm at, and so when I make my bend, I can come back in later and make another bend exactly the same width. And again, I think that's too wide, so we're going to come back, bring it back. That's not always easy. Just straighten the wire back up again. And let's come in about 1/4 inch closer to, closer to the end of the pliers, and see what happens then. Yeah, much better. Much closer. I'm just straighten up these lines a little bit. And in reality, those lines will straighten up later anyhow. Okay, so then cut that. And let's make 2 more of them. Okay, so we've got the 3 cut. Now we're going to come back in and flatten out these bottom edges, because these bottom edges are what's going to actually be showing. So we want to have them flat. Okay, we're all set up. We've got the 1 set of prongs in place. We've got the solder chips in place. So now we just come in and heat everything and hope that the solder runs the correct way. And you can never tell. Come on. Almost ready to go. Did it take? No, it didn't. It doesn't look like this one's going to take. A bit of effort here. Probably spent about 5 minutes trying to get these two solder joints to take. They finally took. And I think we've spent enough time on this metal that it's gotten some fire scale on it. You can see the darkness where the fire scale is. And in this case, it's probably best just to go ahead and put it in the acid and let it soak for a while. All three welding it in place. So now it's just a matter of putting it back in the acid, letting it rest for a while, and we're ready to attach it to the work.